Thank you for clicking on the Literacy Volunteers of Harrison County YouTube channel. We're a non-profit United Way agency, and we provide these videos to you free of charge. Please give us a thumbs up if you like them and subscribe to our page. Today we're looking at handling the HiSet Part 4, Reading Literature. The first thing we're going to look for are plot elements. The plot refers to the events of a story generally. The events that are told in order, and we're understanding the order of events. That would be the sequence, and they can help you see which events caused or affected other events. A story usually contains at least one big plot line. There may be many plots within that big plot line. There could be subplots, different plots, but generally a story will have one plot, one theme. A story usually contains also at least one conflict. And those conflicts are problems that are caused within the story by the protagonist, the antagonist, all of the different problems that could happen. And they may be between characters that are within a character. Like you have a problem within yourself and you're trying to solve it, and you're trying to work that out through the story. Or between a character and nature. Sometimes there's a big storm in a boat and it's being tossed by the storm, or maybe like Alive, if you've read that, where those soccer players are on that plane and it crashes in the Andes Mountains, and then the snowstorm comes and it's a blizzard and no one can find them, and so that's a problem with nature, the characters and nature. That conflict will create tension between the characters, and when it's resolved at the end of the story, at the end of the novel, then that conflict typically ends. We don't want to read a story where the conflict continues. There are also inferences. To understand a story, you can't just rely on what is directly stated. You have to kind of read between the lines. That's what's called making inferences. An inference is based on the information you are given, so all of the information within the story, plus what you have learned about the real world, the way things happen and the way people act. So all of your knowledge you have to put together. If you've experienced similar circumstances to the characters in the story, then you can kind of infer what's going on. The characters are people who inhabit the story, or also they could be people that inhabit the story, people that people interact with within the story. Those are all the characters. The personalities and motives of the characters are often stated directly by the narrator. And the narrator is the person that's telling the story. So he might say, the motive of this character is revenge. So that way you know what the motives of that character are. Sometimes we can infer the character's personalities or motivations by what they do, what they think, and what they say. So if you're within the mind of that character and they're thinking bad things about another person, and you may understand the motivations behind that. They may say a story, this is what happened to make me not like this character, and you understand the motivations, therefore, within the rest of the story. Also the theme. Every story has a subject or a theme, and that can be about anything. Soldiers in war, women fighting for rights, children that are shipwrecked on an island. Any of those things are the theme of a story. There is more to a story than its subject. As you read, look for what the author is trying to say about that subject. So what is he saying about these soldiers in this war? What is causing their personal conflicts? What is causing them to keep going? What is making them want to give up? Different things like that. That will be the theme. That's the message the author wants the reader to understand. He may say that war is terrible and it causes the soldiers to become sad and desperate and things like that. And that will be the theme of the story. In fiction, things that aren't true, the theme is often a statement about life. Fighting a war changes a person's life forever. Man's inhumanity to man. Love conquers all. Those are all just generic themes that may be within stories. The theme must be directly stated. If it's not directly stated, you can infer from the character's thoughts and actions and from the things that happen in the story. So if those characters that are fighting in this war are thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I could go home, this is terrible, I miss my family, maybe I might never see them again. And you can infer what the theme of that story is. It might be fighting a war changes a person's life forever. Or what happens when they come home from that war could change them. Style and point of view. Style is how the writer chooses to write a story. Does he write in long, complex sentences or short, little clipped sentences? Or it could be somewhere in between. Some writers will use flowery and formal language, and that would give you an idea of what's going on within the story, but it also gives you an idea of the environment and a mental picture of what that looks like, where they are, to put you in that story. Some will use slang or spoken dialect. When you read the story of the Grapes of Wrath and the Jodes, and they're going from Oklahoma across, in the desert and the plains and all of those things, they use colloquialisms. They speak like they would speak. So you kind of put you in the mind of who these people are and what they're going through. They could use vivid images or even symbols within the story. They could write in plain sparse story, just facts, and that's it. The individual characteristics that a writer chooses, things like sentence structure, choice of words, use of these images, and other devices are all part of that writer's style. And each writer takes on a different style. And then you look at point of view. We will look at what the narrator is. The narrator outside the story telling us what's happening, explaining to us what's happening, watching and revealing the character's actions, or perhaps even their thoughts and feelings. If that narrator is telling you about those things, you're reading a third person point of view. He is outside the story explaining to you what's going on in the story. He's not actually participating in the story. It's third person. Will the narrator in the story be able to report what he or she thinks? So I'm in the story, I'm a character, but I'm telling it about the other people and about myself. That's first person point of view, about my experiences. Some writers might use figurative language, and that refers to the words that are being used. And they're referring to seeing something other than the actual literal meaning. Writers and even poets use figurative language to help paint a mental picture in the reader's mind, to give you an idea of what's going on, or what this place looks like, or the feelings in this person, this character. Often they will compare two different things, and that comparison is signaled by the words like or as. That's a simile. So we say, the sun is as big as a ball in the sky, or the ball is as big as the sun in the sky. We're using the words like or as, that's a simile. The writer can also give human characteristics to something non-human. The wind sighed. We're kind of saying that's called personification. We're giving them personal characteristics to things that aren't alive, that aren't people. And that kind of ends us up here at the end of the writing part. And the next time we're going to start looking at more of the language part. The next video will be handling the HiSet Part 5, Language, Arts, and Writing. Please give us a thumbs up to like our video and join us again for the next part of the HiSet. Thank you.